Hello and welcome. This is Aisha Khan, your UGC NET English educator at Super Coaching by Textbook. Good noon everyone. Good noon. Let's begin with today's session. हाँ जी, आ जाइए सारे join कर लीजिए. Good afternoon everyone. Debashish, Monica, good afternoon. हाँ जी, welcome to today's session. We're going to have a Saturday session on American novelists. We're going to solve questions from American novelists. हाँ जी, चलिए join quickly. हाँ जी, चलिए स्टार्ट कर देते हैं. मोनिका, आई एम गुड, थैंक यू फॉर आस्किंग. आई एम गुड. हाउ आर यू पीपल? हाँ जी, चलिए ठीक है. लेट्स बिगिन विद टुडेज सेशन विच इज गोइंग टू बी अबाउट क्वेश्चंस फ्रॉम अमेरिकन नॉवेलिस्ट. वी आर गोइंग टू कवर MCQs. वी आर going to cover MCQs from novels written by American writers. हाँ जी, this is going to be your module for today. ठीक है. Good afternoon Ranjit, good afternoon. चलिए let's begin with today's session. Today's session is going to be interesting. चलिए, first question is on your screens. Your first question is who did William Faulkner call the father of American literature? William Faulkner, who himself is a very, very important American writer, he said about another American writer that this writer was the father of American literature. Was it Nathaniel Hawthorne? Was it Ernest Hemingway? Was it Mark Twain? Or was it F. Scott Fitzgerald? हाँ जी, चलिए start answering. हमारे जो विलियम फॉकनर हैं, उन्होंने किसके बारे में कहा था, कौन से दूसरे अमेरिकन राइटर के बारे में कहा था, दैट दिस पर्टिकुलर राइटर वाज एक्चुअली द फादर ऑफ अमेरिकन लिटरेचर. ही गेव हिम दैट मच क्रेडिट. ही सेड दिस राइटर वाज एक्चुअली द फादर ऑफ अमेरिकन लिटरेचर, राइट? ही सेड अमेरिकन लिटरेचर बिगिंस फ्रॉम दिस पर्टिकुलर राइटर. दिस इज विलियम फॉकनर. अबाउट व्हिच राइटर? हाँ जी, वाज इट हेमिंगवे, वाज इट हॉथॉर्न, वाज इट मार्क ट्वेन, और वाज इट एफ स्कॉट फिट्जजेरल्ड? चलिए स्टार्ट आंसरिंग प्लीज. ठीक है, most of you think the answer should be good known. Most of you think the answer should be either C or D, which is F. Scott Fitzgerald or Mark Twain. Okay, ठीक है. Nathaniel Hawthorne, who is also the famous writer of The Scarlet Letter. हाँ जी. Faulkner, when he said this particular writer was the father of American literature, who was he talking about? चलिए, मार्क ट्वेन, मैम सी, मार्क ट्वेन. चलिए, लेट्स लुक एट द आंसर देन. द आंसर टू दिस क्वेश्चन indeed is Mark Twain. It was Mark Twain that he was referring to when William Faulkner said that Mark Twain was the father of American literature. Mark Twain, whose real name was Samuel Langhorne Clemens. And Mark Twain was actually his pen name, a name that he used to publish his works. Yes, exactly. The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn and The Adventures of Tom Sawyer are two important works by Mark Twain, the American writer whose real name was Samuel Langhorne Clemens. ठीक है, चलिए, let's move on to the next question. The next question about another American novelist is, which of these novels is not narrated by Huckleberry Finn? We were talking about Mark Twain, and Mark Twain has a work called Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, wherein we have a character named Huck. He's a young boy, right? Which of these novels is not narrated by Huckleberry Finn? Tom Sawyer Abroad, Tom Sawyer Detective, The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, or The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. Which of these is not narrated by Huck himself? हाँ जी, start answering. Again, another question by Mark Twain. Okay, ma'am, D maybe, not sure. B, okay, ठीक है. हाँ जी, देखिए, first of all, Adventures of Huckleberry Finn is narrated in first person, so this is definitely narrated by Huck himself, right? Then you are left with 3 more works. Look at these 3 more works. हाँ जी, हकलबेरी फिन ने कौन सी नॉवल नरेट नहीं की है, इज व्हाट यू विल टेल मी. नॉट नरेटेड बाय हकलबेरी फिन, नॉट नरेटेड बाय हकलबेरी फिन. हाँ जी, start answering. हाँ जी. अच्छा, most of you think the answer should be either B or A, which is Tom Sawyer Abroad or Tom Sawyer Detective. चलिए आंसर देख लेते हैं to this question. The answer to this question actually is The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, written by Mark Twain. This particular work was not narrated by Huck himself, right? This does not have a first person narration. A third person narrator is the one who narrates the events of the adventures of Tom Sawyer. In its sequel, Huckleberry Finn, this is narrated by first person narrator Huck himself. The other two novels that we were talking about, which is Tom Sawyer Abroad and Tom Sawyer Detective, these two are also narrated by first person narrator who is Huck himself. ठीक है? So the answer to this question is The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. The Adventures of Tom Sawyer has a third person narration. Has a third person narrator. The rest of the novels that we have are narrated by Huck himself. ठीक है? हाँ जी, चलिए let's move on to the next question. The next question, which is The Winter of Our Discontent, is a novel by John Steinbeck. Where did he take the title of the novel from? John Steinbeck, he was an American writer. He's written a novel called The Winter of Our Discontent. This particular title has actually been borrowed from another work of literature by William Shakespeare. So did he borrow the title from Shakespeare's Richard III? Was it Hamlet, Macbeth, or The Winter's Tale? William Shakespeare, the important playwright, the Bard of Avon. हाँ जी. So हमारे जो modern American novelist हैं, his name is John Steinbeck. He took the title of his novel from one play by Shakespeare. What was the play? हाँ जी, you have to name the play by William Shakespeare. ठीक है, A or D, which is Richard III or Winter's Tale. Okay. ठीक है, keep answering. This becomes an important question. Questions which involve titles and the books that they've been taken from, the books that they've been borrowed from, those questions are very, very important. हाँ जी. Third. Okay, C. ठीक है, most of you think the answer should be C or D. Okay. हाँ जी. Shrubney thinks the answer should be Richard III. ठीक है. D, A, okay, A, ठीक है. चलिए, this is an important question because we have a very, very important novel by an important American writer, and he did not come up with the title of the work himself. Rather, he chose to borrow the title from another work of literature that had been written in the past. So this becomes very, very important. The answer to the question is Richard III. William Shakespeare's play Richard III is where he borrowed the title from. Alright, The Winter of Our Discontent is a novel by Steinbeck. It was his last novel, published in the year 1961. The title of this particular novel actually comes from Richard III, which is a play by William Shakespeare. The actual lines from the play are, "Now is the winter of our discontent, made glorious summer by the son of York." Hanji, these are the lines. This is where Steinbeck chose to pick his title from. The lines appear in the play Richard III by William Shakespeare. हाँ जी, चलिए, let's look at the next question. The next question says, which of these is again not a short story by Nathaniel Hawthorne? Which of these is not a short story by the American novelist as well as short story writer? His name was Nathaniel Hawthorne. The Snows of Kilimanjaro, Young Goodman Brown, The Minister's Black Wheel, or Rappaccini's Daughter? You have to tell me which of the stories was not written by him, Hawthorne, Nathaniel Hawthorne. हाँ जी, Hawthorne, who besides being a novelist was also a major short story writer. So his short story output is a lot, right? He wrote a lot of short stories during his lifetime. हाँ जी, चलिए, start answering. Nathaniel Hawthorne, who is also the writer of the novel The Scarlet Letter. हाँ जी, he wrote many short stories. His output of short prose, short fiction was a lot. Which of these is not one of his short stories is what you have to tell me. 4B, which is Young Goodman Brown. Young Goodman Brown is definitely a short story by Hawthorne. Hawthorne definitely wrote this. So just rule this out. We rule out the B option. Hanji. Look at the other options that we have. Hanji. Which of these is not a story by him? Shrubney says the answer should be The Snows of Kilimanjaro because it was written by, yes, it was written by Ernest Hemingway. The answer to this question is The Snows of Kilimanjaro, which is a short story by another American writer. The writer is Hemingway, Ernest Hemingway. And the rest of these short stories are by Hawthorne himself, right? So Nathaniel Hawthorne, who wrote the short story Young Woodman Brown, which was published in 1835. Then we have 1836 short story The Minister's Black Wheel, and Rappaccini's Daughter appeared in 1844. हाँ जी, चलिए. Next question that you have is, which of these novels by Toni Morrison, another American writer, she was an Afro-American writer, very, very important writer of the modern age. Which of these novels by Morrison has the dedication 6 million and more? You know how you have a dedication in before a novel actually begins, before the narration of the novel begins, there's a dedication. It says dedicated to so and so a person, right? So this particular novel had a dedication to 60 million and more. What was the novel? Was it Tar Baby? Was it Beloved? Was it Sula? Or was it The Bluest Eye? This is Toni Morrison. Toni Morrison, who is majorly known for her novel The Bluest Eye. Haji. Morrison chose to dedicate this particular novel to 6 million and more. Haji. C, D, Beloved, Bluest Eye, Sula, ठीक है. Beloved. Most of you think the answer should be Beloved, which is option B. हाँ जी. $6 million and more. This is a dedication in which of the novels by Toni Morrison? Toni Morrison, who is primarily known for her novel The Bluest Eye. Toni Morrison, in whose works the theme of race was very central, and also the theme of gender was very central. It was in her novel The Bluest Eye that she talked about the beauty standards that we have. Beauty standards. हाँ जी. चलिए. The answer to this question, most of you think the answer should be D. No, the answer is not D. Bluest Eye is not the answer, although this is one of the most important novels by Toni Morrison. The answer to this question is actually Beloved. Beloved by Toni Morrison is the novel wherein we have the dedication which says 60 million and more. When she said 60 million, she was actually referring to the 60 million Africans and their descendants who had died as slaves. This particular novel has a character who is actually a runaway slave, right? So this novel was dedicated to all those slaves. This is why she said 60 million and more. When she said 60 million, she was referring to the 60 million slaves. This is Toni Morrison for you. The novel is called Beloved. The dedication reads 60 million and more, dedicated to 60 million and more slaves. Chaliye, let's look at the next question. The next question is, in The Great Gatsby, what is Jay Gatsby's real name? We have a character, in fact, he's the protagonist, he's the eponymous hero of the novel. His name is Jay Gatsby. What is his real name? Is it James Gatz? Is it John Galt? Is it Jay Goldberg? Or is it Jay Gonsborough? Hanji. Important novel, very famous novel. In fact, this particular writer is actually known for the novel. The writer has not been mentioned here. The writer is F. Scott Fitzgerald. चलिए, start answering. हाँ जी, हमारे जो एफ स्कॉट फिट्जजेरल्ड एक अमेरिकन राइटर नॉवलिस्ट रहे हैं, उनकी मोस्ट पॉपुलर नॉवल वाज कॉल्ड द ग्रेट गैट्सबी. जो ग्रेट गैट्सबी के एपोनिमस हीरो होते हैं, उनका रियल नेम क्या होता है? वैसा नेम है उनका जे गैट्सबी. व्हाट इज हिज रियल नेम? हाँ जी, 6A. Okay. Yes, I might have shown you the answer already, but the answer to this question is James Gatz. James Gatz is the real name of the eponymous hero of the novel, The Great Gatsby, which was actually published by F. Scott Fitzgerald in the year 1925. In this particular novel, we have the character named Jay Gatsby, who is a novio rich. Who's a novio rich? Somebody who has recently acquired money, somebody who did not have money from the family. It is not generational wealth, somebody who's not blessed with generational wealth of wealth from their families, right? But something Novio rich actually translates to new money, new money. So somebody who is newly rich will be called a novo rich. हाँ जी, हमारे जे गैट्सबी होते हैं नोवियो रिच. ठीक है, चलिए let's look at the next question. The next question which says, which American writer is known for his novel and short stories that are set in the fictional place called Yoknapatawpha County? Remember how Thomas Hardy used the setting of the fictional setting of Wessex? How this was Hardy. How R.K. Narayan used the fictional setting of Malgudi. Likewise, this particular writer also used a fictional setting of Yoknapatawpha County in his novels. Who was the writer? Was it Hemingway, Faulkner, Fitzgerald, or Nathaniel Hawthorne? हाँ जी, start answering please. 7A, 7B, 7A, Hemingway or Faulkner. Okay, ठीक है. This is an American writer. He invented a particular place so that could become a setting for his novels. The setting place was called Yoknapatawpha County. Who was the writer? Who was the novelist? Was it Hemingway? Was it Faulkner? Was it Fitzgerald? Or was it Nathaniel Hawthorne? The short story writer and novelist Hawthorne. हाँ जी. अच्छा, 7B. Most of you think the answer should be William Faulkner. 7B. ठीक है, ठीक है. Shrabni thinks it's B, Monica thinks it's B, Debashish thinks the same. Hanji, Debashish is also telling the name of another novel. Yes, that's good. The answer to this question is William Faulkner. William Faulkner, who was an American novelist, whose complete name was William Cuthbert Faulkner. For his novels, he invented a fictional setting and called it Yoknapatawpha County. The fictional setting was actually based on a place that he had himself lived in. The place was called, based on his own autobiographical detail. This is a place that he himself lived in. So this is how he based the county on. Hanji, the answer to this question is William Faulkner. William Faulkner. Chaliye, let's look at the next question. The next question which says, from which work did Faulkner take his novel's title, The Sound and Fury? The Sound and Fury, which is a novel by William Faulkner, उन्होंने अपना टाइटल कौन से वर्क से लिया है? Again, we have the works of Shakespeare. Was it Richard III? Was it Hamlet? Was it Macbeth? Or was it The Winter's Tale? हाँ जी, जो हमारे अमेरिकन राइटर हैं जॉन स्टाइनबेक, उन्होंने अपना टाइटल लिया था रिचर्ड III से. Remember the Winter of our Discontent? We had a look at the lines also. This particular American novelist, William Faulkner, इनकी भी एक novel है called The Sound and Fury. He also borrowed his title, the title of his novel, from another play by William Shakespeare. What was the play called? Was it Richard III? Was it one of his tragedies, Hamlet or Macbeth, or was it The Winter's Tale? हाँ जी. C. I'm seeing C a lot. That is Macbeth. Okay, Macbeth. ठीक है. William Shakespeare's Macbeth. Okay. Which play by William Shakespeare was the source of the title of William Faulkner's very famous novel, The Sound and the Fury? हाँ जी. चलिए देख लेते हैं आंसर. तो द आंसर टू दिस क्वेश्चन इज Macbeth. William Shakespeare's Macbeth. Macbeth, which was a tragedy, one of the most famous tragedies by William Shakespeare, Macbeth. And from Macbeth we have the title called The Sound and Fury. The novel was actually initially it was named Twilight, but Faulkner would later change the name to. हाँ जी, the title, the lines, this is basically a soliloquy that comes from Macbeth, and here we have the title which appears in these particular lines. Look at the last line. It says, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. This is also a very very famous soliloquy called Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, right? ये Macbeth की जो soliloquy है, यहाँ से हमारे पास title आ जाता है William Faulkner की novel का. The novel was called The Sound and Fury. Look at the title here, The Sound and Fury. हाँ जी, this is William Faulkner. The novel is called Sound and Fury. चलिए, very very important lines, right? Remember these lines, remember the soliloquy. This becomes one of Shakespeare's most important soliloquies, right? हाँ जी, चलिए. Let's move on to the next question. Then the next question is, who was the first American writer to win the Nobel Prize in Literature? So far, we've had a lot of writers who won the Nobel Prize in Literature, but who was the first American writer to do that? Was it Washington Irving? Was it William Faulkner, Hemingway, or Sinclair Lewis? First American writer जिनको Nobel Prize मिला था for literature. This question becomes very, very important because it involves a writer, it involves an award, and he is also the first writer to win this award, the prestigious Nobel Prize for Literature. He was a Nobel laureate, the first Nobel laureate who won the Nobel Prize for Literature from his country. C or D, which is Ernest Hemingway or Sinclair Lewis, is what you people believe should be the answer to this question. Okay, ठीक है. हाँ जी, कौन से हमारे अमेरिकन राइटर हैं जिनको सबसे पहले नोबेल प्राइज मिला था लिटरेचर के लिए, उनके वर्क के लिए, उनकी राइटिंग्स के लिए? कौन से राइटर हैं? मैम डी Sinclair Lewis. ठीक है, Sinclair Lewis again. Most of you think the answer should be D, which is Sinclair Lewis. The answer indeed is D, Sinclair Lewis. Sinclair Lewis, whose complete name was Harry Sinclair Lewis. He was an American writer, novelist, and besides being a novelist, he was also a short story writer and playwright. In 1930, in the year 1930, he was awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature, thus making him the first writer from America. His most important novels include Main Street, Babbitt, Arrowsmith, Elmer Gentry, Wordsworth, and It Can't Happen Here. Hanji, he has a lot of literary output. These are the major works of Sinclair Lewis, who was awarded the Nobel Prize in the year 1930, thus making him the very first American writer, the first writer from America to win that prize, right? Hanji, Sinclair Lewis. Chaliye, important question, please remember this. Chaliye, your next question is, arrange. We have a chronology question now, because there is no way you can prepare for UGC NET without preparing chronology questions. The question is, you have to arrange these works in a chronological order, that is in the year according to the years of publication. Publication years के हिसाब से आपको ये sequence में arrange करने हैं. The works are called Absalom, As I Lay Dying, The Sound and Fury, and Light in August. चलिए, these are your options. पहले तो ये बता दो ये किसकी novels हैं. Who is the writer of these novels? These 4 novels are by the same writer. Name the writer, then start arranging them. These are works by the same author. हाँ जी, who is the writer? The writer is William Faulkner. William Faulkner is the writer of these particular novels. The answer should be you need to arrange all these works in a chronological order, that is in order in which they were published in the sequence in which they were published according to the publication years. Hanji, William Faulkner is the writer of these novels, exactly, yes. Start arranging them according to the publication years. We have Absalom, we have As I Lay Dying, we have The Sound and the Fury, a novel that we just talked about. The title of the novel is something that we were discussing, right? And then we have Light in August. चलिए, इनको अरेंज कर दीजिए. Take your time. These kind of questions do need some time. हाँ जी. William Faulkner's novels. We started the session by talking about how William Faulkner called Mark Twain the father of English literature. Yes. Chaliye, let's look at the answer then. Let's look at the answer to this question. The answer to this question is 3, 2, 4, 1. So we have The Sound and Fury at first. We have The Sound and Fury. The Sound and the Fury. Then we have As I Lay Dying. Then we have Light in August. And at last we have Absalom. We have Absalom. This is your order of the works by William Faulkner. Let's look at the publication years of these works. So The Sound and Fury was published in 1929. That's your first work. Then we have As I Lay Dying, which was published in 1930. That's your second work. The Sound and Fury, which was published in 1929, 1930. Then we have Light in August. And Absalom, the work that we placed last, is actually published in 1936. Okay? It was published in 1936. Hanji, please remember the publication years of these works. That becomes very, very important. When you cover a writer, make sure you also memorize all the publication years of the works that that writer wrote, right? Hanji, that is William Faulkner for you. William Faulkner. Chaliye, that brings us to the end of today's session. Today's session, when we started the session, we talked about William Faulkner. We are ending the session with another question about William Faulkner. William Faulkner, who's an important American writer. What we're going to do is we are going to meet at 2 p.m. today, and we're going to continue questions from romantic novelists in that particular session. Make sure to join the masterclass, which is free to access. You can find it on the textbook app. Hanji, theek hai. That will be all for today. Thank you for joining in, everyone. We've solved some interesting questions. Please make sure to make a note of all the questions that we've discussed today. Theek hai, chaliye. I'll see you at 2 p.m. today. Theek hai. Okay, bye people.